All right, guess what state has the highest property tax? Dude, it's actually mind-blowing. Get much higher, and then you sell somewhere in the
Oh,
middle, and you
is
take
that
all the
legal?
money.
Like I could be wrong, but I want to
I
say
believe
that
it's
I
illegal, but
remember
I think it
learning.
used to be legal.
But you can't outlaw data centers. Like it's actually illegal for a municipality to say like 1,000% no, it's not possible. And I'm excited to be back on a call with you, man. This is fun.
Yeah,
Had
for
fun last
sure.
week.
For sure. My traffic's been down in my market on my listings over the last week, even on searches for them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I kind of expected by now most people be back from their vacations, their post schools out for the summer vacations. But still seeing pretty minimal search results and showings.
Yeah, there's been limited activity up here. In fact, I was pulling some market statistics for Habersham County specifically in Northeast Georgia, and with a median price in the low 400 range, and I just did a 500 and up residential only homes. How many homes are on the market? There's 92 the day that I pulled that, and in between, pretty much in the higher, 700 to about that $1 million purchase price range, there's been 7 transactions in the past 6 months. So it's limited opportunities for sellers right now. There's about one real buyer in those higher price points right now, per month that everyone's fighting for. So it's been a tough market for sellers up here in this area. I'm sure you're probably having the same stuff going on down there this week since.
Not to that extreme level, but
Okay.
definitely we have a high inventory issue, not a lot of buyers.
Yeah.
My county is largely owned outright. So the 30-year 3% mortgage issue doesn't seem to be affecting my market as much as other markets. But I think
Mhm.
we're having some insurance issues that are scaring people off, and just fear of hurricanes in general, especially prior to hurricane season. You got a lot of motivated sellers that are trying to get rid of their property before hurricanes just in case. And then you
Mhm.
got some buyers that are cautious on entering into something prior to the hurricanes. In general, hurricane season is the best time to buy in Florida, though, because that's when sellers are the most nervous and the most motivated.
Yeah. Yeah. They're trying to get rid of the property to get rid of the what ifs.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Even if there's nothing that happens, they're saying dry season this year. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, fingers crossed for that.
Yeah.
I don't wish any harm on anyone. But
Yeah.
uh, so what's new, man? Well, what's been going on other than slower week listing wise?
Weather's been nice. Been outside a lot. Been fishing, learning how to fish.
There you go.
Yeah, there's a lot of sea trout, and they're good eating.
Oh, yeah.
So
Sea trout.
I'm
I've
getting
never heard
there.
of that.
Yeah, they just look like rainbow trout, basically, or
Oh, really?
speckled
But
trout.
it's about salt water. Wow, I didn't know.
Mhm.
Are
It's
they
like
like both, or is it specifically only that they live in the sea?
I have no idea. I mean,
Yeah.
they're definitely just a variation of trout. I think that these don't go into brackish water, the ones that we have here.
Okay. Yeah, I grew up trout fishing on a lot of the rivers up in the Towns County area,
Oh yeah,
the Northeast Georgia mountains. That was some good memories right there with my buddy Dallas growing up. That was fun.
they always have the like one or two teeth that are really big for no reason on the front.
Yeah, there was let's see, rainbow trout. Um, that's about the only ones that I remember catching that stood out to me. And then like
Yeah,
actually eating them. Yeah, that was. And then Lake Chattooga, you'd get some bass, occasional catfish, and those can get pretty big up there. But um, and then I live near Lanier now, but I don't do much fishing nowadays, to be honest with you. I want to
Yeah,
get back into it with my sons. It's definitely like a thing I want to do in the future.
I hadn't been into it in a long time, although I did a lot growing up. And getting back into it's been really awesome.
Hmm.
I think it's important for everyone to kind of understand where food comes from
I agree with that. Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
to
You
have
know.
that experience, like killing the bait fish to then
Mhm.
catch a bigger fish that you then eat.
Yeah.
It's there's sacrifices that have to be made for you to eat that meal.
You should have seen my son's face whenever I was through a long drawn out conversation. He kept asking me questions about it's actually this picture frame we have in the house. It's a picture of me and him next to the river. And on the surrounding of the frame, it has like caught fish, it has fishing poles, it has ducks and like just different stuff that you would see in this area. And then he started like pointing out different things, and then he was just like fishing pole, and then he pointed to like the hook, and he was asking me like what that was about, and like I told him, and then I just kind of did this number, um, that it's for catching fish,
Hmm.
and then he was really kind of grabbing onto that, and he ended up asking more questions, and I ultimately had to tell him that the reason we catch fish is so that we can eat them,
Hmm.
and that we have to cook them first and put them in the oven. And it was just like this whole, like you could see things were like clicking in his mind. And then he started asking me about other animals, like the duck that was also on the picture frame. He's just like, duck, eat. I was just like, I mean, some people do. I mean, I don't think I ever have, but some people do. And then he started asking about everything. And then he said cow, and I was like, yeah, burger. And then steak, and just seeing his like wheels turn in his mind.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
is
a
a
whole,
hard concept to
yeah,
grasp.
yeah, dude. I mean, even as a kid, but like I feel like even adults are kind of that way if you're
There's
so
such a
far removed from it.
separation. Yeah,
So,
such a
but it's important.
separation. People throw away food so much because they have no idea what happened to get there.
Yeah, no, we try to like we don't compost, but we do like pretty much any scraps of like fruits and vegetables we'll leave out to the deer, because we get plenty of deer around our home here,
Hmm.
and they appreciate that. But we try not to, put food waste at least in the trash. But
That's good.
composting, though, my wife keeps talking about wanting a garden. So at some point, we're going to do a home garden and compost and try to live more off the grid. Like she keeps talking about chickens and all of this. So we'll see how that goes. But it's definitely a lot of people live that life up my
Hmm.
way.
I mean, it's pretty easy to just start, man. Start with spices. Even just
Uh-huh.
potted plants with that are spices, like get some
Yeah.
basil and some sage and a few other plants that can
Yeah.
easily grow in a pot.
We have some rosemary actually, and I'll pull some of that off for the steaks that I make on the stovetop. Um, that's actually really good. And then she has a cilantro plant, but that's
Nice.
really all we got going at the moment.
Yeah, I have some neighbors that left a bunch of plants here at my place, and now I feel inclined to have to care for the plants. I can't just let them die. So
Yeah,
all of a sudden, I inherited
dude,
all
I
these
was
plants.
I was amazed at how fast cilantro grows. So
Wow.
she harvested it because it was like, it came pretty full from the store. And then she harvested it within a week because it grew quite a bit. And then, dude, literally within about another week, it could be like, I mean, it was a small amount, relatively speaking, but it was like ready to, like, it was already this long again after she had like cut it from like almost the roots.
Wow.
I was like blown away. I was like, it makes no sense to pay the same price for the already cut stuff in the
Hmm.
store. But I guess it's easier, a little bit, depending on how you look.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess just knowing enough about it to know which things are worth growing
Hmm.
is, I mean, takes some digging.
We found this out because we take our son to the library, here in Hall County. We go to actually a lot of different libraries because he's a bookworm, dude. He's probably read almost like 1,000 books at his age. He's 2.5. I mean, we read it to them, but dude, at our local library, you can get 10 packs of seeds every 2 weeks. And that's
Wow.
like flowers, that's vegetables, that's like different stuff you can plant for your yard. And we were just
Wow.
like shocked that that was like a thing. And you can also rent up to 50 books at a time. So it's like,
Oh my
why
goodness.
do people buy books? Like why buy children's books whenever you can just go in, in a 2 week span, read through up to 50 that you can check out at once. Um, and he likes the new book, so it's like it's exciting to him to open a new book and get going on the next one. So
Mhm.
that's cool.
Dude, that is really cool. That's interesting. I used to study at libraries a lot because they have free Wi-Fi, and a lot of libraries are really nice, and they have a
mhm.
cool smell and feel to them that's kind of nostalgic.
Was that growing up, or was that like in college years?
In college, I mean, I obviously use my college university library like
Yeah.
all the time, like 4 days a week. But even outside of college or like during the summers,
Hmm.
doing internships or whatever else.
Nice.
Yeah, libraries are cool.
Yeah. Yeah, they are, man. Because I had gone there as a kid, r- very rarely. But it's like refreshing walking in a library, especially on a rainy day. I like it.
Oh yeah,
I
dude.
don't even really read all that much. Like I'm not a bookworm.
Hmm.
I guess my son's turning me more into one. I read all the books for between me and his mom.
Hmm.
We read a lot of books for him. But
Yeah, I've been trying to read a little bit more. I really have been enjoying these Robert Greene books, but it does take some commitment to finish any of the books.
yeah, what are those like? I don't
They're
know much.
like all about kind of human behavior,
Hmm.
especially explored through like a historical way. Like here's what all these other humans did, and here's some like human laws based off of these actions and their results.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
That sounds pretty up my alley, actually.
Hmm.
I've been reading whenever I have time. I mean, other than the Bible, I've been reading Keeping It Real with Commercial Real Estate.
Oh boy, how's that?
Uh, what is his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. I'll think of it, but it's good, dude. I mean, it just teaches you about the fundamentals, really,
Yeah.
um, from an investor's lens, not just like at a high level. It's just like different asset classes, that type of stuff.
What's been the best real estate book you've read so far?
Oh, dude, unmatched. The thing that like the thing that made me double down on real estate is How to Create Wealth in Real Estate by Grant Cardone.
Hmm.
Um, it's something along those lines. It might not be exactly verbatim that title, but it's like very similar to that. It just taught about again the different asset types and then like what his preferred asset type was and why. And it just talks about not only cash flow, but it talks about um, appreciation. And the thing that I'd never heard of that's arguably the most, depending on who you're talking to, one of the best things about real estate, that appreciation, all the tax benefits. He actually walks the reader through his first deal he made. I believe, if I'm going off of memory here, his first multifamily deal. That's what he likes to invest in. I believe he bought 34 units. It was a value add deal. Um, I think he put down 300, if not 350K, and he leveraged the rest. So what is that, like a $1.5 million purchase price? I'm going off of the top of my head here. Um, and ultimately, over the course of 3 years, he made over $3 million on that property. Um,
Wow.
and that was kind of his start into the investing world with real estate. And that just kind of like stuck with me ever since I read that like 10 years ago in college. What
Yeah, I
about
think
you?
my favorite one's been Gary Keller's million dollar agent, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, I haven't
And
read that.
I thought it was good. More than anything, that book puts into perspective how important prospecting is.
Mm,
They use like
numbers.
backwards math, breaking it down. Like if you want to make $1 million in revenue,
Mm,
then this is how many people you need to reach out to. Like it does the math
yeah,
backwards.
that's
I think that
interesting.
was a good way to look at it. Just realizing like if I'm not reaching out to 4 or 5 people a day, then I
Yeah.
have no shot at making 6 figures this year.
Does it talk about like the quality of those reach outs or just like any and all?
I mean, it does go into that somewhat. It kind of just talks about the overview of business planning as an agent. Like, here's some things to expect. Here's like what's going to be necessary. Here's the volume that's necessary to make this
Mhm.
full time.
I see. Yeah, no, that's important, man. In fact, Century 21, they give like a business planning tool that I do at the start of, or I guess the end of each year going into the next year. And that's like the first time I really realized like how many reach outs, how many conversations I need to like realistically be making, just because it kind of helps you, I guess, with the averages of like everything and just realizing like how many, touches you need, whether
Yeah.
it be letters, phone calls, giving out your business card when you're out and about.
Hmm.
And not even that, but just like talking to people, getting to know people.
Yeah.
You,
Giving
you
people advice.
need people to know you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But
I think, yeah,
obviously,
when you approach it as like trying to provide the most value
mhm,
for your clients and for the people in your community,
mhm.
then it becomes easy to prospect. It's when
Yeah,
you're thinking about it from like how can I make money? How can this benefit me?
for
That it's
sure.
very difficult to find clients.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, man. Because especially if you go through a drought where you haven't had a closing in a few months or however long it's been, it's easy to feel that you got to do anything to close a deal. But it's just nice to be regrounded to know like it's all about helping people. The more people you help, the better you'll do, period.
Exactly.
And it's all
Yep.
about relationships, not burning bridges, um, leaving that person's life better off than before you help them, essentially,
Hmm.
is
Yep.
the goal. Because that ultimately is, I think, how to find success in what we do. And I guess probably most businesses, honestly, now that we're talking about it.
Yeah, ours is so service based though. We really don't
Mhm.
sell a product. I guess unless you're
Yeah,
selling a product to other agents, which a lot of agents do.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. A house is sort of a product in a roundabout way,
Yeah,
but it's
absolutely.
definitely a service. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
but
it's
yeah,
a
we're
need
not profiting off the sale of the home like directly. We're getting paid for a service of selling
because
the home.
we brought a buyer and seller together,
Although
and then
I'd love to do a net listing. Isn't that what it's called? Where you just take the percentage, like you promise the seller, hey, I'll get you this, basically wholesaling. Promise the seller, hey, I'll get you this. And then you put the price on the market much higher, and then you sell somewhere in the
oh,
middle, and you
is
take
that
all the
legal?
money.
Like I could be wrong, but I want to
I
say
believe
that
it's
I
illegal, but
remember
I think it
learning
used to be illegal. Let me look this up.
because I used to yeah, I'm curious. Let's let the audience know because I want to say in my pre-license course that I remember reading that was not okay. That you could take a flat rate, you could take a percentage. Um,
Yeah, they are called net listings.
they're what?
They are called net listings.
And they are legal?
They are illegal in most US states. However, they're strictly legal in a handful of states, including California, Texas, and Florida.
Wow. Okay. So
Wow. I
that's
mean,
why
once you
you
get
were
into the
like
net
thinking,
listings, eh?
yeah. So
The
it
only thing is
definitely
that
is
sellers'
illegal.
expectations are so high right now
Hmm.
relative to where they should be in the market. So getting a net listing, like I think that would work more in a seller's market. Hey, I can
Yeah.
get you this number, and then being able to get a higher number.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm having an issue with selling listings, not making enough money off the listing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be I think the other side of the market if it really were a seller's market.
Hmm.
Then net listings, you could take advantage of people doing that.
That's funny though that we just like pointed out a pretty significant difference between Georgia real estate and Florida.
I've never heard of anyone doing that. My
I've never heard of it
brokers
either.
would definitely not
Yeah.
allow that
But
either.
I will say, dude, something that's popped up. Obviously, we all know about wholesaling, where a cash buyer gets a property under contract to buy cash, but they have written in there that they can assign it to a new buyer,
Mhm.
and keep the difference on whatever that buyer's willing to pay. We all know about that. Um,
Bro,
but a
how are
new
those people staying alive right now? I know they're just using AI to mass text people and trying to find deals that way, like texting end users that need to sell before it makes it
It's
to
all
the
distressed
agent.
situations. I mean, if
Yeah,
9 times out of 10 is going to be that. I've seen some actually come and like
pre-foreclosure.
try to go after, listings that have sat for a while on it, even MLS. A lot of them won't touch a deal on MLS. But there's been a handful that I've tried to. And in fact, I had one on one of my most recent listings that closed. There was a there was a guy trying to wholesale, but he was doing it with like a layer of something else, which is it's a subject to financing deal where basically they wanted my seller to keep their note in place in their name, but then they buy the property, pay them on top of that to just basically go away, but they pay the note for the seller. Um,
Interesting.
that scenario I've seen mainly makes sense in the case of a pre-foreclosure. That seller's
Which my
got to do
market is
something.
experiencing an uptick in pre-foreclosures.
So you might see some of that. You might
Yeah.
get offers. If you ever get those listings where someone's trying to pull that one, because that was a unique thing that I had to explain to my seller clients, and they were very taken back on why someone would even want to do that. Um,
Yeah.
but to each their
It's
own.
sad. It's a disservice to the people at the end of the day because if they list it on the market, they're always going to get a higher price than someone trying to advertise it behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I think some people are just in such a bad position that they don't really care, even if they have to take a 20%, 30% loss on the property. At least they're getting their money now versus having to
hmm
wait. But it just
And
never makes sense, man, because you could always throw it on the market and find a buyer.
yeah, no, I agree with that. But I will say in the specific case of this guy that made that offer, and in the case that someone is actually going to be foreclosed on, I could see that subject to deal makes sense because you got to move fast. And sometimes, especially right now, going on the MLS, it may or may not sell, even if it's at a really aggressive price.
Right.
If you have a cash buyer right there ready to move forward, it's an opportunity for someone in that situation to walk away with at least some payday, and then they also don't get a ding on their credit, and someone keeps paying that note for them, so it actually helps their credit over time versus getting the foreclosure and then you can't really do anything for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
uh, so like I said, very specific scenario, but that is something that I've seen. I also saw a listing recently that was considered a novation sale. Do you know anything about those, Zeke?
Nope.
That's a new concept to me, and honestly, I need to wrap my mind around it better because it seems very complicated. But I think the gist of it is a buyer goes to a seller, says, "Hey," it's basically like a net listing, but they're not an agent, and they get it wrapped up in some weird agreement where, yeah, it's not a licensee, but it sounded a lot like a net listing, like you just
Mm-hmm.
described. So very similar but different. Um,
It's
so.
crazy, man. People take on so much risk in real estate sometimes just to save a few bucks, just to cut a corner. And it's just,
Mhm.
I don't know if it's worth it.
I
There's a
feel like
reason
there's a
why you have agents and lawyers involved because then if a mistake gets made, it's not
Mhm.
on you, it's on them.
Yeah. A lot of people, I feel like there's so many people that are like that they have the idea and the confidence that real estate is the best path forward as far as investing goes. But it's just so hard to find a deal right now that makes
Mhm.
sense for that first time
Right.
investor.
Yep.
There are a lot of people that are just like so eager to jump in. And a lot of these people are high income earners, like they may be a doctor that they don't have any investment properties yet. They're fresh out of medical school. They probably have some medical debt. They have a nice primary home, but now they feel like they have enough money stored up to where they can make that first investment.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be a really good thing for their net worth, and how the next 5 to 10 years go for them, cash flow wise and appreciation wise and everything, or it could be a really expensive mistake. And that's why I feel like having someone by your side going into that transaction that actually knows how to crunch the numbers, it's very important,
Mm-hmm.
because you definitely don't want to be learning after the fact and then
Yeah.
regretting based off of all of that information and experience that happened to you.
Mm. No, it's true. Yeah, you gotta do your research in advance. I like that about our friendship and my friendship with other agents as well, is that I'm constantly hearing what they're running into
Mm-hmm.
and what they're finding out, and that speeds up a lot of my time and catching up to concepts that are maybe more obscure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree, man. I appreciate that too, because um, I feel like, the more people you're around that are trying to do that same thing, you're just going to experience more together as
Totally.
like kind of one group rather than just like a solo lone wolf just trying to do it all by yourself.
Yeah, yeah, you can't do it all by yourself. In a
Yeah.
collaborative world like we live in today, I mean, it's all about who you
Mhm.
know and what you can learn from the people you know.
Yeah. And honestly speaking, like whenever speaking to commercial real estate, a lot of bigger deals are actually done in group efforts, and it's not a solo person buying that big apartment building, for example. It's friends, family that get together. Sometimes there's a syndicator involved that has like, they're licensed to sell securities, and they can bring on accredited and in some cases non-accredited investors. Um, so that's just like an interesting thing, because I guess through all of the research I've done and helping people try to find properties like these, I have found that a lot of the better deals on the market today and just to be had in general are a lot bigger assets, and
Mhm.
and it usually comes with scale. But obviously the problem is like, how do you go into buying a $10 million plus deal? You
Right.
know what I
So
mean?
few players, and then even then, those players have to have everything in order, and it has to be the right
Yeah.
timing for them.
Yep. And then on top of that, you're up against behemoths. You're up, whenever you get to that playing field, you're literally up against the institutional investors that just have Wall Street money flooding to them, and they're
Mhm.
cash buyers. Their biggest hurdle is that they're slow to move because they have to get all these approvals by their boards and all this to get moving forward on the transaction. And they have all these check boxes that they gotta check off for their investors at the end of the day. But like, insurance companies, I mean, like MetLife, they're one of the biggest multifamily owners in America today. And it's like, I guess growing up you'd never think like, an insurance company owns that building over there. It's just like a
Right.
weird concept.
Mm.
But ultimately, they have all this money coming in every year, and in a lot of cases, they're not paying all that out in premiums. So they got to do something with it, and they want to buy something that can make them money, and if not only make them money, but also save them in taxes. Um, so that's why they look at real estate. But I think that
Makes
there
sense.
is a sweet spot right now. Like speaking on multifamily, I think that there's a sweet spot between about 25 units and about 75 units. So roughly give or take 50 units. I think that that's a really good sweet spot for that. Um, Probably more seasoned investor that's looking to scale things up a little bit. Um, just because you're not up against the institutional guys, that's way too small a fish for them to take on, and you're
Mhm.
really only up against other, um, you know, local people that would have that type of net worth to even acquire something like that. Um, So yeah, I love multifamily. I am personally trying to find my first investment property. I've been looking honestly since the past like 3 years, um, but just really nothing is penciling right now in the range that would even be a reality for me. So I think a good goal would be just trying to go and be a minority partner in a bigger deal.
Mm-hmm. In my market, they have so many duplexes and quadplexes and stuff. They're all
Mhm.
older. Most are from the 60s,
Yeah.
but the prices when they hit the market are outlandish.
Yeah. There's just like no way to buy it in cash flow, essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's really hard to figure out a way to value add even.
Hmm.
It's just
Yeah.
such a everybody is looking at that. Everybody that's an investor is interested in that, from
Mhm.
people that are making 200K a year to people that are making 20 million a year.
Yeah.
Everything in my market is it just comes out so overpriced. Occasionally you can get a deal, but it does seem like duplexes and quadplexes are completely unaffected by the rest of the
It's
housing market.
oversaturated, man. It's
Mhm.
people, because it's people like me, that have that itch to get in the multifamily space.
Right, right.
But they don't really have the experience to understand what's a deal and what's not a deal.
Mhm.
So there's been like hundreds, literally hundreds of deals that I've penciled and just been like, this makes no sense unless the purchase price is here. And then you talk to the seller and they're just like nowhere near reality.
Yeah.
Um, and that's just kind of the reality of a lot of that.
Well,
But
it's
what's
it's like
funny
you
is that they,
said.
they end up selling. So it's like someone got,
Uh-huh.
someone just bought it. Yeah. And they might have paid cash, but even if they paid cash, they're literally better off just parking their money in the bank.
Mhm.
Um, so someone's buying it and they either have a lot of money to put somewhere or they're a novice and they're going to learn the hard way.
No, it's like you said, like if it's working, if it's cash flowing well, why would the investor sell it? And if
Well, I
he is
mean,
going to sell it, he's not going to sell it at a discount where it really makes sense. And then investors are only looking to buy a real discount deal.
mhm,
And they're not going to buy anything that's not like, it's a standoff. It's somebody's going to have to
yeah.
come off of a great deal.
The frustrating part is whenever you see that current seller that's on market bought it for well under what it's at within the
Mhm.
past 5 years even. And then, even though they did increase the rents, but they're still asking astronomically higher than what it should be valued based off the numbers.
Right.
And that's the tricky part of why, like, I think that 2 to 4 unit multifamily that's technically still residential real estate is tricky. Um, because I've made a few offers on like a quadplex, a duplex, um, and another quadplex, but within the past year. And you know what I've experienced is that the lenders will always look at it, and the appraiser will always look at that on a comp based basis. They don't care about the income on that property. Now, a debt service coverage ratio lender, they have boxes to check with the income, but the true value of that property doesn't come from the income. It comes from what are comparable sales being sold for, and that's all that lender and underwriter is going to look at. Um, so there's really no value add. You're really just waiting on the market to appreciate, just like a single family home. Even if you increase rents by $200 a door, and that's another, what is that, 2 times 4, $800 a month, which comes out to be, uh, here, I'll do some underwriting for our viewers here. That's $800 a month times 12 comes out to $9,600 a year. And let's say that in that market, a 6.5 cap is the norm, assuming it was a commercial multifamily. That would be another 150 grand in appreciation just because you raised those rents up 200 a month. But you don't really get that in a 4 unit deal because it's still residential. Um, like the bank isn't going to loan you more because of that versus if it was 5 units you would. So
Mhm.
that's where I get like caught up on. I think I would rather just go for a 5 unit or more. But then that you get into limitations with like anything under 24 units. It's really hard to manage unless you're self-managing,
Mm.
because a lot of those profits go towards management, and then you end up not
Right,
cash flowing as much because
right.
it needs someone almost on site, but you can't
Mhm.
afford to have someone on site. Like, who's going to manage that deal for $7,500 a year? You know what I mean? It just you're either going to have someone robbing you, or it's just not going to be managed properly. Which either way, it's not going to go well. Um, so I think the bigger deals are where it's at unless you're self managing.
Hmm. Yeah, good analysis.
I mean, it's frustrating because ultimately, you know, what frustrates me is that like 2020, 2021, you could buy a say 5 cap, but you could leverage at a 2.5% interest rate. So, I mean, usually if there's a spread between what the capitalization rate is and those interest rates, you know, you're going to be making money um, as close to guaranteed as possible because you're leveraging, you know, at a cheaper rate than you're making it back, and that's, I
Mhm.
guess, the definition of a good investment if you're, especially when you're borrowing money. Um, but in today's world, you know, you're borrowing at 6.5 or more on an investment property. And that's like bigger multifamily. On something like 4 units or less, you're probably looking at around a 7.2 right now. So that's another thing about buying smaller. Um, but you're buying at a 6 cap is what a lot of these are listed at, or even a 5.5. So it's like you can't do that. You can't buy something and have negative, you know, you can't leverage at a negative rate.
Mhm.
So yeah, I have been analyzing a lot of multifamily for a client recently. Um, I can't really specify where or really even asset size, but um, that has been a lot of number crunching.
Mhm.
It's been kind of a whole new side to the business that I've been really appreciating because, like I said, I've been interested in it for the past 10 years, but this is like my first time really being involved on the front line, if you will.
Mhm.
It's
Just
a
the
nice,
beginning, Grant.
yeah, yeah, man. Um, I'm feeling like my business is definitely taking me more the commercial route, but it's also positioning me where I can help the same client with their primary residence or an investment. And that's
Mhm.
honestly, I feel like that's nice to have because a lot of times in a lot of cases you're going to have two different agents, kind of like a Swiss Army knife to piece it all together versus
Mhm.
just having a go-to. Um, but I know you do a lot of condos down there, and you actually list a lot of investment properties. So what's been like your takeaways from some of that recently?
I think that it makes more sense to rent out your property than to sell it right now,
Hmm.
unfortunately. So I think that there's been a lot of rent or sell equations for my clients that we've just gone with rent for now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, that's disappointing, but the rents here in St. Peter are very strong. There's always going to be a crowd of people that are just here temporarily, that
Hmm.
they see this as a 5-year stint. Or maybe they just can't afford to buy a home, but they make good money because
Right.
it's my county in particular. There are a few pockets that you can find a home for fairly inexpensive, but it's definitely one of the more expensive west coast of Florida towns. There
I
are
see.
areas like Mexico City or Mexico Beach and Inglewood, and there's little pockets where you can get a beach house for like 200 to 500K. It's outrageous.
And that's
And
on the beach?
yeah, or like right by it, across the
Wow.
street kind of thing.
Wow.
So definitely there are pockets of cheap Florida living, but my county, Pinellas County, is not one of them.
No, I got you.
So when it comes to that, there's always gonna be a strong rental market here.
Hmm.
And yeah, right now it makes a lot of sense to be a landlord taking advantage of the fact that our population has remained about the same, but
Hmm.
price of housing has gone up so significantly.
Yeah. You were telling me that there's a lot of growth happening in your sub market you're in.
You know, we had a 12,000 person decline
Oh, really?
last year. So it's not like growing population wise all at once, but from a development standpoint, they are building luxury condo building after luxury condo building, and the downtown density is just by the day getting higher and higher. They rezoned a lot of single family to be able to have ADUs, accessory dwelling units, or like
That's good.
basically a mother-in-law suite.
Yeah,
or house off the back.
that could change the landscape for investors down there.
Absolutely. And it makes it reasonable for somebody that has a seasonal house here to rent out the back part,
Mm-hmm.
maybe Airbnb, or, some people do that even though it's not zoned to allow Airbnbs, they'll still do it. But
Yeah.
also long-term renters, people like me that are, looking, they're early on in their career, maybe haven't lived in St. Pete for too long, and they're
Mm-hmm.
just trying to learn the area before they commit to a certain area. There's a ton of people like that. So making single family homes that have the ability to have rental units on the back of the property has
Mm-hmm.
increased the density. It's brought more to the retail downtown. It's making the city more money, and
Yeah.
it's providing just access to downtown for a lot of younger people.
Yeah, dude. Um, so I noted the decrease in population technically, but from what I remember, there was like a lot of companies coming to that area.
Yeah, they
Um,
talk about Tampa
is
in
that
particular as a
is that bringing
growing
like
job
jobs to the
market.
area, or what's going on there?
There are, yeah, there is an increase in jobs in Tampa specifically, and Tampa
Mm,
continues to grow. All the areas are filling in basically. If you look at a
mm.
map, all the rural areas in between the main city downtowns, that's what's being built out right now.
That sounds like an opportunity for someone too.
Yep. I mean,
Yeah.
both downtowns, Tampa and St. Pete, are also growing, but it seems like the majority of new construction and major growth is happening in the rural areas on the outskirts of the
Mm.
cities.
Hey, where's Florida at with this proposed no property taxes on
Man,
homestead properties?
I haven't been paying attention to it too close, other than hearing recently that DeSantis is still pushing. Our governor is
Okay.
still really pushing for this. And it sounds like it's going to happen right around the time that it's before he gets booted, because this is his last few months of being governor of Florida. He's already had 2 terms.
Oh, I gotcha.
So we're going to have a new governor next year. But I think that DeSantis wants to go out with a bang. So this is kind of his last thing he's really pushing for. It's interesting, though. Like, I went to a Rays game on Tuesday night, and the Rays, their stadium, for a while there after the hurricane, it got destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And they played temporarily in Tampa at the Yankees spring practice stadium.
Okay.
And they sold out every game over there. And there's always been this kind of thought process that there would be way more fans at the games if they moved to Tampa, but
Mm-hmm.
they've been staying in St. Pete all this time.
Wait, aren't they the
And
Tampa Bay Rays, or am I
yeah,
wrong?
Tampa Bay Rays, they're in St. Pete.
But they're in St. Pete, not Tampa.
Well, they're Tampa Bay Rays, not Tampa Rays.
Oh,
Tampa
I
Bay
got you.
describes the body of
Okay.
water, actually, that we
Ah, I
all
got
the
you.
cities live on.
That's technicality. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and technically, the even though it is in St. Pete, it's on the Tampa Bay. Like, it's only a few blocks
I
from the
gotcha.
water.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, the Rays, there's been some back and forth. They tried to strike up a deal with the city of St. Pete and redevelop that entire area, and it looked pretty strong. And then the hurricanes came through, and they kind of used that as an excuse to kill the deal.
Yeah.
So then they spent like 20 million or whatever redoing the stadium. For the meantime, as they try to strike something in Tampa, they sold the team to a Tampa owner. For a while there, we were thinking, okay, maybe it's going to move to Orlando or another city.
Yeah.
And it didn't. They sold it to someone from Tampa. That person plans on keeping it in Tampa. But then that person came up with a new proposal that they were riding with, that's already been like voted on and stuff, with the city and with the state. And it's going to be like 40% funded by the state or something like that,
Wow.
or even more. And now with this proposed property tax change by DeSantis, it would
Yeah.
kill the stadium deal.
Oh, it would kill it.
It would kill it because
How
so
would
much
that
of that
kill it?
money
I'm
is
curious.
coming from the current tax structure.
Oh, I see.
So they'd have to rework it somehow, because there just
Wow.
wouldn't be half as many public funds available.
I gotcha. Man, I'm not gonna lie. If that thing happens and y'all already don't have state income tax, that's really appealing for someone that's just looking to pay less every month.
Yeah. Well, I'm really pulling for the property tax law to change, not only from a real estate standpoint, but also from a Rays standpoint. I'd rather than be on this side of the bay. I'd never
Right.
go to a Rays game if it was in Tampa. Probably not.
Well, good, man. I mean, hey, if it works out better both ways, I mean, yeah, that would. I'm pushing for that because I feel like that would set a precedent where
Right.
other states would follow.
Yep.
Um,
Let's shake it up. Let's see what happens. Let's run a experiment down here, see how it goes, and then other states can
I
make their
think
own.
it's totally fair, secondary homes, vacation homes, rentals, any commercials, they pay
Yeah.
property tax,
Yep.
obviously. But homesteaded, dude, come on. Like that feels like highway robbery right
It
there.
is highway robbery. Like your grandma passes on your a home to you, and then
Yeah.
you have to pay rent every month to live in grandma's
Yeah,
home.
yeah,
It's
it's
so
it's
messed
paid
up.
off
Like
free and clear, but tax
at the
basis goes
very
up.
least, at the very least, property taxes are too high.
Yeah.
That's fine. Make people pay for property taxes so that your local government has some money to work with. But man, you shouldn't be spending like 2% of
Hmm.
what the property's value is, or whatever it typically comes out to.
Yeah,
1%,
it's
I
crazy.
guess. 1% to maybe. What do you think is the highest property tax in the United States?
I don't know, man. I pay
Probably
a pretty high
California.
percentage. I live in a 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 2022 built home. It's 1,008 square feet, and I pay right at 3,000 a year for property taxes,
That's
which
actually not bad.
it's not.
That
Relatively speaking, especially like I understand the closer you get to Atlanta and other states, like I'm sure they're way higher in your area, but it just feels wrong, dude. Like I'm
yeah.
someone that's just starting out, and the fact that you can't even build something like this in most areas to begin with because it's too small, um, it just blows my mind. It makes it really hard for that first time home buyer. Is all I'm gonna say about it.
All right, guess what state has the highest property tax? Dude, it's actually mind blowing. Actually,
Uh,
I'm gonna start with this. How about this? What
New.
region of the country? Southwest, Northwest, Southeast, Northeast. Which region has the
I was
highest?
gonna guess either California or New York, but if we're going region, I don't know. I might throw out a curveball and say Southeast because I feel like that's what you're gonna say. I don't know.
Yeah, it's Northeast.
Northeast, okay.
Yep. So all of the main states, pretty much, there's one Midwestern state, but all the other top states for property taxes are Northeast. It's New
Wow.
Jersey has the highest with an average effective tax rate of 2.23%. Then it's Illinois, surprisingly, at 2.07%. Dude, it's so crazy though. New Jersey, the people from New Jersey don't even want to live in New Jersey.
Yeah,
They
dude,
move as
everyone's
soon
trying
as
to
they
get
get an
out. Yeah.
opportunity to get out of there. And
Yeah.
it's got the highest property tax. It's
So
crazy.
for those viewers watching from New Jersey and they want to move to Georgia or Florida, hit up. We
I'm
can
not
not
saying
only
New
help
Jersey's a
you,
bad state or anything like that. I'm just
yeah,
saying the
we can
people that
go
live
ahead
there
and
don't want to live there.
we can not only help you find a professional to get your property sold and be rid of those high taxes, but we can also help you move. So just going to throw that out there. And that's for all other states as well.
Well
We can't
said. You
help
don't
you in
have
those
to
other
live
states,
in
but
New
we
Jersey
can find
for
you.
life. We'll help you get out.
Yeah. All right. So that's for that commercial. But man,
Yeah.
that just blows
Yeah, the
my
next states
mind.
though are Connecticut, New Hampshire, Vermont, and then New York at 1.6%.
Wow.
So it's crazy that Vermont and New Hampshire are that high, 1.77 and 1.71%.
New Hampshire, I mean, I've never been there and I don't even
It's
know too much
beautiful,
about
man.
New Hampshire, but it just sounds like an expensive state. I
Yeah,
don't
it
know.
is.
It
Yeah.
just sounds very I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is, but just expensive.
Yeah, everything looks like it's out of a magazine.
Yeah, yeah.
It's beautiful.
Man, that's cool.
Wow, that's so crazy though, that 2.23% in New Jersey.
Yeah. I know of I'm not obviously not gonna throw out names here, but there were a handful of buyers from New Jersey that bought that bought a new construction home from me whenever we were selling new construction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, Alabama, there's so many counties in Alabama that are under 0.3%. Or not 0.3%, 3%.
Alabama's cheap.
No, 0.3%.
I have a buddy that bought a brand new
Oh my gosh.
home for like, I don't even know, dude. It was crazy. It's a ranch home. It's over 2,000 square feet. It's 5 bedrooms, 2-car garage, and he got this thing for around the same price that I got my 2-bed, 2-bath, 1,000 square foot house here in Georgia. And I was just blown away by that. And he's within 40 minutes of the beach at Orange Beach. So, I
Wow.
mean, I think Alabama's growing right now for that reason.
Mhm.
It's just affordable.
You
People
know,
are
there's
just,
a county in Alaska that charges no property tax.
oh, really?
The Northwest Arctic Borough.
And if you live in Alaska, because me and my wife actually looked into this before we had kids. Uh, if you live in Alaska, you actually get a paycheck from the state government for the oil situation. Um, it's obviously high, like, you know, I've heard income taxes are pretty high, and just like cost of living is like outrageous
Hmm.
because everything's so remote. Uh, but I think that's one way that the government tries to help with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Wow,
it'll be
man.
interesting to
Yeah,
see, man. Like,
Illinois.
I don't know about your area, but there's been a lot of counties in the Northeast Georgia area that have been taking a new look at their Unified Development Ordinance, the UDOs, I guess is what most counties call them up here. Um, and they're changing the rules. They're basically trying to put better guardrails in place because what's in place currently is just so old and outdated.
Hmm.
Um, and I didn't know this because there's so many locals that are up in arms about not wanting data centers to come to our area for obvious
Yeah.
reasons. Um, but you can't outlaw data centers. Like, it's actually illegal for a municipality to say like 1,000% no, it's not possible, and they put that in the UDO. But what a lot of counties up here have been doing is putting it's next to impossible to do it, but they're just putting like, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do that. Has to be this type of property, has to be this much acreage, can't be next to this, can't be next to that. So it's
Hmm.
like the the odds of them getting the one or two, maybe less than 10 properties in the entire county that are, set up that way and it actually going through. And then they also have to get like special approval beyond all of that.
Hmm.
It makes it very hard. But what most people are seeing from the public is they're making rule, they're basically they're including basically like a, because it can be looked at both ways. It's either guardrails, trying to prevent that, which I think is what's happening. But some people see that the headlines and they're like, they're trying to help people build data centers. They're basically giving them like a path to be able to do it. And obviously it goes both ways, but I don't know if y'all have any of that going on down in Florida, the data center talk, but that has been a very touchy subject up here. And I personally don't want them coming to our area for a lot of reasons. But they seem to be, the Georgia, especially the Atlanta submarket, seems to be like a hotbed for developers trying to pull that off right now because,
Interesting.
a lot of money to be made, just like any other developers looking to make some money. But
Yeah, we have chatter of it, but not specifically in my county. There's no room for
yeah.
anything in my county. It doesn't make financial sense, but definitely start going a little further towards the center of the state.
Mm.
And there is a lot of this going on.
Oh, really? I would almost imagine that it's like too, like, they wouldn't want to be as close to the equator, if that makes sense.
Right.
'Cause
Too
I've
hot.
heard that
Yeah.
too hot
But
is a bad
Florida
thing.
has, you need a lot of water to
Yeah.
cool those off. And Florida has a ton of bodies of water.
I see.
I mean, if you look at a map of the center of the state, it's just lakes everywhere.
Yeah.
So just because of the
Yeah.
access to water on so many different properties, they can figure out one that makes sense.
I saw, I don't know if you've seen this one, dude, but this popped up within the past week for me is China. is putting data centers on the seafloor now.
No way.
Yeah, dude, it's a thing. And
Oh
there's
my goodness.
like it sounds good, but then you start thinking about how that affects marine life and like all the unknowns of how that changes the entire ecosystem. Um, because like it's a predominantly cold part of the sea, way down on the seafloor, and that would be obviously producing a lot of heat. But it sounded like a creative, if we're gonna need these things regardless and they're gonna happen regardless kind of thing, looking at it through that lens. Like, is that the worst place to put them? I don't know. It was an interesting idea, I thought, but I think, data centers are always going to be a touchy subject.
Yeah, no, you're right. In looking more into it, Georgia is absolutely one of the most
Hmm.
focused on states right now. Georgia, Ohio,
Hmm.
Texas. I think the other one I saw was California.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude, I've heard they're very
Virginia.
lucrative. Like, you can make a lot of money if you could pull one of those off, but it's just a matter of like how many people's lives are you going to affect in that process. And like, I've seen somewhere in South Georgia, maybe around McDonough, there's one coming, and like they're actually pulling off eminent domain to
Oh my
take
God.
ownership of people's like farms that they've owned for generations and their family, because they need to run some Georgia Power high voltage lines through that property, and their house is right in the way, kind
Oh
of
my
thing.
gosh.
So it's really sad how that happens, and I don't like them for that reason.
Makes
Um,
sense when they made the interstates, but
Yeah, no, there needs to be a better solution for it though, because
totally.
the way that they're doing it right now is just like a bull in the china shop.
Mm.
And they're actually, I've looked into this too. They're negotiating with power suppliers, like in our case, there's Georgia Power, which is like the statewide one, but then there's usually like local like electric membership corporations, for example. Um, and if you're gonna be consuming so much power at your facility, you actually get to like try to negotiate with those power suppliers, and they're able to get a cheaper rate than the average person because of that. And then ultimately what ends up happening is everyone else pays more because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else takes that on essentially. So that was, another big piece, other than obviously the water usage, and then pollution. Um, so not good overall. Did you see SpaceX is supposed to go public tomorrow
Yeah, and
on
it's like
Friday? Yeah.
way overvalued.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay out of that one, but I'm definitely gonna watch it because I see that as 50 years from now, dude. I think it'll be obviously a really big company
I
that'll
saw there was
continue to get bigger.
$111 million put that was just
Wow.
put against the S&P 500
Oh
in
wow.
preparation for uh, this SpaceX public stock.
Oh wow. They think it's gonna crash like the entire S&P 500
Yeah,
somehow.
they
Just a
do. I
lot of
mean,
liquidity.
apparently it makes up like SpaceX and Tesla combined make up 6.7% of the entire S&P 500,
Wow.
which is crazy.
Yeah, that's going to cause a lot of disruption. I'm
Mhm.
definitely staying out. I see that being a very volatile stock for a while. And this is not investment advice, by the way. We're just two guys talking about what we're seeing. Um, but yeah, that'll be fascinating because I heard, obviously with their AI and everything, like data center, everyone needs a data center. It sounds like. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just like how much power, like I don't know, man. It's kind of scary where the future is going to be and like what the world will be like when my sons are my age, for example. um, which makes me also interested in buying some acreage and moving to Florida where there's no property taxes on the homestead and just living off the land and not interacting with people. No, I'm kidding. I say that with all jokes aside,
I
but
know. It does sound really nice.
yeah.
Yeah, like I drive through northern, just north of where I live. It's called Spring Hill and Hudson and a few other areas up there. And man, it's so quiet.
Hmm.
but you're so far from anything. Like that lifestyle is really cool and comfy, but it can be boring because it's the same routine every day, every weekend.
Yeah, yeah.
It's nice living in a city. Like there's just so much going on. Like this past weekend, we had the Red Bull cliff jumping downtown, and that's
Oh,
just a
that's
couple
cool.
blocks from my house. So they
That's
set
really
up this
cool.
huge stage and TV screens and stuff, and these people are jumping off like at, I don't know, 30 to 60-meter structures.
Yeah. Bringing it back to my son reading, this is reminding me of the city mouse and the town mouse. I feel like I'm the town. I feel like I'm the town mouse, and I'm just like hearing out the city mouse right now.
Yeah,
There's
we got a
pros and
lot
cons to both,
on.
but no, I see what you're saying, man. I live an arm's length away from a lot of stuff happening,
Mhm.
so I just based off where I grew up,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
feels a lot more like the city than where I grew up, I'll say. But I'm definitely still in a remote area, I would argue.
Yeah,
Um,
it's hard to
but
find
just
a city that like provides a little bit of both, but I do feel like my city does. We have a lot of barrier islands and state parks and stuff, so it's really easy to get away from everybody and feel like you're in the middle of nowhere. But at the same
yeah.
time, it's a very walkable, tons of
Mm-hmm.
activities going on city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, man, um, I don't want to keep it quite as long as the last one. Um, what are some closing thoughts here on our second video?
Hang in there. Everybody's on vacation. If you're a realtor and things are slow, you're not alone.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, things are, it's always weird. It's like start of the year was slow for me, but now things are picking up, and it's
Hmm.
like for no rhyme or reason other than personal people's timing. I mean, everyone's different. But yeah, guys, stay tuned for next week's video. We'll keep putting these out. Definitely subscribe to both Zeke's channel and my channel, and check out last week's video right here if you haven't done that already. And yeah, leave a comment for any topics, any questions y'all had based off of this that y'all'd like to see in future videos.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll cover it. And then give the video a thumbs up as well. Peace.
All right, brother.
Here, let me why the fuck not stop?